Hello and welcome back to Here's the Piece, the Peacemaker after show on Here's the Thing. I'm joined once again by Ari to talk about Peacemaker. We're on season 2, episode 6. We're nearing the end. We're not quite there. We're entering, though, this last little arc, these final three that James Gunn, the cast, and everybody who's ever involved in DC history, the whole brand, like, oh my God, you gotta watch the last 2 episodes. They're basically like a movie. So we watched the first act of this three-part movie this week. So I'm excited to talk about it with Yari. So let's get to it. What were your thoughts on this week's episode of Peacemaker?
Um, the episode as a whole, I honestly, unfortunately, was not that much of a fan of. I didn't like how they kept dragging it out. It felt like James Gunn's intentionally trying to mess with his own audience that loves him so much. And I'm usually a fan of James Gunn humor, but in that first like 10, 12-ish minutes, it was getting pretty annoying. Not that all the jokes were bad, it's just there's so much of it. And, we want to get to the reveal, and I get teasing, but it felt a bit manipulative.
Yeah, this is an episode where I truly started to feel frustrated with the pacing of this season a little bit. I feel like we haven't really spent the time in this universe to earn these reveals and these twists, but I did like parts of it. I think some of the vigilante worked. I think some of the confrontation between Harcourt and Chris worked. But as a whole, I think this was pretty weak compared to the rest of the season, especially when they shot themselves in the foot by talking this up, saying, like, oh, this is a movie level event, right? This is going to be like the biggest thing that's ever happened. This is going to be DC's next big, you know, event. And this did not feel like an event to me. This just kind of felt like trudging along. We're actually getting to the plot, which is something we're not doing in the last few episodes. So I
Um,
probably like more than those last couple episodes. We were literally felt like we were doing nothing and like
um,
going nowhere. But yeah, I'm kind of let down by this. I'm feeling disappointed by how where we're at right now in this season.
yeah, I just feel your audio is like I can hear what you're saying, but it's almost like you're coming in and out of a tunnel. Um,
All right, I'll work on this.
yeah, but yeah, it's just frustrating because when you hype all this up, you're like, and then I've even heard people saying very positive things about episode 6, specifically like episode 6. That's the great one. That's my favorite, and I'm like, there are things that I liked that happened in the episode, but as a whole, like I love that scene with Vigilante. I love that he's going to visit himself. I was like, are they actually gonna? Is he just gonna run into him, or is he gonna? And he specifically goes to him. Now that part, I really enjoyed that part of the episode. But when we spend like 13 minutes of them getting there, and it's just really annoying. And like I said, some of it is funny. It's just there's so much of it, and it genuinely feels like he's purposefully trying to mess with you, being like, you gotta wait a little longer, and then
Let's
yeah,
start
we'll
with the
talk.
vigilante scene because I want to kind of go in order here. The vigilante scene is probably the best part. Yeah, what did you think of vigilante showing up in the multiverse and being like, "Oh my God, Cheerios are different," and fanboying over like these little differences?
I was actually that stuff actually worked for me. I thought that stuff was really funny. To me, the best part of the movie is that, and then um, Amelia finding out that like Mick Jagger's and the Beatles, like that stuff to me was fun. But it was that other stuff, the humor and dragging along that I wasn't a fan of. And the episode. I'll just keep talking until he gets back. But the episode starts with Peacemaker with his dad, with his brother, with Amelia at that restaurant hanging out, and I'm like, this is disappointing to me because I would have liked to get to know, in that episode earlier this season, he's with her on the bench, like we're gonna try out the relationship. I want to see them trying out the relationship. I don't just want to jump into the drama in the crazy last 3 episodes. I want to give me some time to breathe and get to know this universe. Don't just push me don't just push me all the way here and just jump into the last 3 episodes. I want to see him getting to know them. I want to see them going on a few adventures. I don't just want to see them suddenly they're all together and now we're just into the crazy last 3 episodes. And I'd also like to talk about what the hell was that when they show the picture right for the theme song? What was it? Was that like a Back to the Future look? We're in another universe and messing things up? Was that your interpretation of that?
Yeah, it seemed like it was. it seems like a perfect, wholesome American family. Everyone's smiling, everyone's happy, and then you get that melting, almost like AI looking image of like, this is not real. This is not what it seems to be. That was what it seemed like it was saying to me. This is artificial.
Yeah, but what are you? I'm guessing your thoughts are still the same on that. We're just jumping into this instead of getting to know this world.
Yeah, that's my biggest problem with this season overall, I think, is we're getting to this point now where they're giving us answers about this multiverse, but we have spent so little time in this universe that I don't really care, right? Like, they're giving me the answer of what's going on, but we've only been here for essentially like one episode before this. So I haven't spent time with these characters. They're not really tricking me because I haven't spent time there to be tricked, right? So they're tricking Peacemaker, but even he hasn't really been there that long. So I don't really buy into him being shocked by this or him being like, "Oh, I can't leave these people behind. They mean so much to me." And I think like, how you haven't even been here more than like a few days.
Yeah, that's the problem. The trick. That's a story. That's just simple storytelling. You can't pull a trick if we didn't get to know these characters and live in this world. Like that's not. That's just not how reveals work. And so I was really disappointed like that. And the thing is that episode earlier this season where you're in this world, I really liked that episode. That episode was really good, and now we're here and we're just okay. We're doing the reveal already. Like I don't. I'm just really not a fan of it. And maybe these last two will be great, but I don't know if that will make up for the rest the rest of the season. And that's not really what I want from the second entry of this new DC universe.
Yeah, we entered this season really excited and really, inspired by what James Gunn was doing, and he felt so confident going into this. And now this feels kind of unconfident. This feels like a kind of easy reveal and not subtle reveal. And it seems like they feel like they tricked us, right? It seems like oh man, they're never gonna have got this. And we kind of got this from literally the first episode. Like when they first showed this universe, we were already like, oh, there's, it's all
Yeah,
white
like
people and it's kind of fascistic, and that it was all there to us. And they're trying to be like, oh, you didn't see it because you weren't looking, but we were looking. We did see it.
that's the problem. That's a great point you just brought up that they're acting like we didn't see this coming. It's unexpected, and that's how think of any show like Lost, The Walking Dead. Think of say The Walking Dead like that arc in the second half of season 4. What's this terminus thing gonna be? What's this terminus thing gonna be? They don't just like imagine if you watch that and everyone's like it's gonna be terminus, and then 2 episodes later it's terminus, and they act like nobody saw this coming. It's like you have to build up a reveal, and I feel like there wasn't actual build up. It's just we got to this world, and then 3 episodes later we're back here and we're revealing it, and I just don't really think that works.
Let's move on to another scene for a second here. I want to start going kind of in order here. Let's talk about this initial comedic scene with Vigilante and his mom. It was kind of an interesting scene I wanted to talk about. Like his mom, he's setting up like, oh my mom. He's like almost like Cartman talking about like characters. He's like, oh my mom's a real bitch and stuff like that. And then you meet her, and his mom is just like really endearing and really caring and almost like
Too caring.
too caring. But it makes Vigilante come off as like this angsty like 14-year-old who's like, God, mom, don't come in my room. And his mom is just like this really, really nice, overly nice woman. Did you think that was a funny joke with the mom in the meeting?
I did. I thought that whole sequence went on for too long and was annoying that it was there for that long. But I did find that very funny. I like the joke where he's like, "Please, mom, don't come down. You can't come down here," and then she just keeps walking down there, and he's like, "Mom, stop!" But she's just so nice. And what's a little bizarre to me is I opened up YouTube right after this episode and I saw a Peacemaker podcast. James Gunn himself, I believe, said, "Yeah, originally we had her making out with Economos."
That's hilarious. I really like that
What?
though, because it feels like that teenage movie thing where like you hate your parents so much, and then your friends come over and they're like, "Oh, your mom is really nice. We love your parents. You're the best." And
Yeah,
I
I
can see that getting
guess.
a Vigilante's skin, you know?
Yeah, I guess what happened is it's that scene where like the friend starts talking to the mom and they get along so well. And they're almost like flirting, and then they're walking down the stairs, and it's like, "Where's Economos?" So they just cut to Economos and the mom making out on the couch. But
Like
yeah,
they go into Vigilante's like lair, and he has like this Breaking Bad money thing set up under there, and not just money, but like endless drugs, everything he's ever like stolen from his villains over the years. And he's like, "Oh, this is blood money. This is blood drugs. I don't use this," and he just keeps it under his house. That's pretty insane. Just the idea that there's this random house and you go underneath it, and there's just millions upon millions of dollars worth of drugs and money.
he's just in his mom's basement, the most normal, just Nancy down the street, and then you walk down and it's Breaking Bad. Like what the hell? And then when they open that portal, and then it doesn't work properly, and it blows, and then it blows all the cocaine in their face, and they have this moment again. It's a funny moment. Like I will say, it's a funny moment. It's just like this episode is like 37 minutes, and it's like that's not what I want to see. But yeah, that was a very funny sequence. I think most of the episode is at least reasonably funny. It's not. That's the thing with James Gunn's humor is it's not annoying that it's not funny. It's annoying that there's too much of it
Hmm.
and that it's misplaced and goes on too long. But yeah, that happens. They go through the portal and then they arrive in the other Earth. They get to that room and they see that creature. For a second there, I thought something was going to happen with the creature. Like for a
Yeah, I'm
second,
ready
I
for that
thought,
creature to interact. Like he's been in the opening sequence every episode, so I'm wondering if they're gonna do something with him, give him some kind of arc. I wonder if they'll
yeah,
tie into like that alien that introduced this multiverse device to them. I wonder what
yeah,
is gonna happen
they
here.
they, they got to do something with that.
Maybe he shows up
But
in Superman. That could be your connective tissue. He's in Superman. He turns out to be the villain. That's Brainiac right there. He's been there the whole time.
I think that's what should happen. Is the reveal is that's Brainiac has literally been there the whole time. Like Peacemaker literally could have stopped all of the chaos that's about to happen in Superman 2 by just taking that guy out right there. Any of them, it
It's
could
interesting
have.
that Peacemaker like completely ignores this guy and like doesn't really try to communicate with him. I wonder if it'll be a thing where it's like the answers were right here if you would have just reached out to somebody different than you or someone you couldn't communicate with and put in the effort. They would have
And
been
then
right
they'll
there to tell you.
And then it'll do that thing in Superman where John is like, has all that regret and guilt because it's like he was right there. I could have stopped all this death and all this destruction. And then they're like, we all could. It wasn't just you, John. Like it was us too, and we never could have known. Maybe there's some sort of that's interesting because Brainiac is all about like AI and manipulation. Maybe it's literally not their fault that they didn't talk to him or anything. Maybe he was manipulating them and their reality into not trying to talk to him at all.
Yeah, we'll definitely see if they do something with that. But
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, they get to this Earth, they walk through, they're in the house, and I will give James credit that this episode, the tension was high. And I was scared for a lot of the episode. Like, what's going to happen next? Like, is a bunch of Nazis going to run out? Like, genuinely, what is going to happen? Is the dad going to get home? And they get through there, they arrive there, and Eagly is there. And Eagly has made a giant mess in the kitchen. And they have a good joke of, I guess we traveled the multiverse to clean up more of Eagly's bullshit. And,
I
and then
think
they
it's
open.
important that Eagle is there. I hope he shows up and does something in the next couple episodes
Yeah,
once
what are
things
we
start to
gonna?
go off.
That's that's interesting. Are we gonna see Eagly save the day?
I think
It's
we will, right? Like we're right about to see things go, hot.
yeah.
So Eagle is probably going to be
We gotta have a sequence of
important.
Eagly killing Nazis.
I would love to see it. A montage of Eagle just slaughtering a bunch of Nazis. We know
Imagine it.
he has the eagle. He's a prime eagle, right? He has
Yeah.
superpowers.
It.
Let's see him fight the Nazi Eagly though, right? There's got to be like an evil Eagly out there somewhere on this universe.
What
I
if
want
the
to see a battle of
Eagly?
Eaglies.
What if when that one is in its prime form, like in that last episode? Imagine it frames a swastika instead. And you get that fight, and then like they get like their symbols to fight, like lightsabers. Um,
It's
but yeah,
interesting too in this scene. Keith enters and Harcourt has to kind of play along. She's not very good at it, but she manages to convince Keith to drive her to Argus. Her friends are telling her not to go, but she says yes, and I think she made the right choice. Right, that's kind of where they have to go. Peacemaker's probably going to be there, or at least some answers are going to be there. So I think that was a good choice, even though she's going to have to not get caught. I feel like that was honestly the best move. She found Peacemaker by doing that. Yeah, so I think she made the right call. But it did split the gang. Vigilante goes off, like we talked about earlier, to go find himself, and now the gang is all split up in this universe.
Well, we got to talk about one more thing in regards to Vigilante. We have this long scene where it's like, and by the way, we got to give a shout out. They straight up acknowledge the Spider-Man pointing meme. He's like, Spider-Man pointing meme. Okay, what was your reaction to that joke?
I don't know if I like that, but it matches what Vigilante's personality would do. Like he would be the guy to point out the memes and be super excited. I love that Vigilante meets himself and he's just straight up exactly like himself. His personality is no different at all. His life and all his interests and everything is totally exactly the same, except for
It's
the giant difference. But like, it is funny that his personality and everything he's into, and his costume and everything, even the keys that go into the basement, are all the same. That's pretty funny. Like all the way down to the keys are exactly the same in this guy's life, even
see,
in the Nazi universe.
see when he walks down there, I was genuinely scared. I was like, is this guy gonna be like a Nazi or something? Is this guy gonna? When he had the gun pointed at him, for a second, I got scared. For a second, I thought he was gonna shoot straight up, just kill him.
Or at least
But
capture him.
yeah, but they have that interaction, and I also like the joke where he's like, "Dad's not gay here." But we have to talk about the reveal that everything's the same, obviously except for that, but also except for the fact that he is part of the Sons of Liberty. He hates Superman. He hates Peacemaker. Peacemaker is his arch nemesis, and he's part of the Sons of Liberty. And we've been talking about what are they going to do with that Sons of Liberty thing. He's part of that. Maybe he's their leader, and so I think that's a clear indication that this vigilante is against. I mean, we're gonna see. So that's interesting to me because I was worried that this vigilante would maybe be a villain, maybe be a Nazi, but we clearly see that it's the opposite. So we're gonna see two vigilantes teaming up.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see that, and I'm glad they're going to team up. And yeah, it's interesting because we wanted to get an in on these Sons of Liberty, and now Vigilante is finally our in. I wonder if we'll see a switch end up happening at some point. Like, what if the Earth 2 vigilante gets killed and our vigilante has to like swap in and become the leader of the resistance or something like that? That could be really fun to see. Our vigilante having to be thrown into being the leader of the Sons of Liberty and lead all of that. That could be very funny. But yeah, I would
If
love to see them both fight side by side. And I can't wait finally next week to see what this world is all about in terms of the Sons of Liberty. What are they doing? I'm sure we're going to get more information about that in the next episode, right? Because
if
that's kind of where we end things.
it feels like there's a lot more that can happen, but then there's just two episodes left, so I hope they're at least longer in length. Like not, I hope neither are under 45 minutes at least.
No, I really hope not. You want
I
to move on
really
to one of the other bigger scenes here? Or at least we'll go by the character. We'll talk about Frank Grillo for a sec, because there's really two scenes to talk about regarding Frank Grillo
that scene with him and
character here.
Tim, the scene with him and Tim Meadows is interesting because the way Tim Meadows is acting, it seems like maybe he's falling away from Argus and maybe he's gonna separate from them and end up joining our team. That's the
That's
vibe
what it
I
seems
get.
like, yeah, because last week
Yeah.
when he saw that Casanamos was leaking the information, he said, "You're doing a good thing." And I think he's starting to realize that Argus is not wholly on the good. I don't think he even thought that necessarily. I think he's just kind of a goofy guy, but I don't think he's like a hardcore company loyalist, right? And we questioned in the first episode that he showed up, is this guy going to join the gang and become part of the team? And I
Is
think
he?
this is more signs he's going to do. He's going to
He's a
join them.
goof. He's a goofy guy, but is he also a green guy?
There's a crazy theory going around. I don't know if I buy into it, but people are convinced that this guy is a Martian. I don't know if he's the Martian, but people are thinking, oh, he's acting strange because he's an alien. He doesn't understand Earth culture. That's their whole argument.
He is usually played and voiced by black actors, right?
And that is true.
So that's a very interesting casting because that's a very comedic actor. But I'd be very interested to see him have that switch to being more serious in the future. Like he's goofy in this, but if he's in Justice League, I mean, Tim Meadows Justice League. I don't know. It's an interesting theory. I don't know if I buy it, but it's definitely an interesting theory. And
With
I'd
this
be
level of
curious.
goofiness, I don't know if I think is Martian Manhunter. You
Yeah,
know,
I don't. Yeah, I don't. I don't know. I don't know about that. But
I want to talk about his Rick Flag Sr.'s line here about like he's convinced that Peacemaker is an enemy of the United States, that he's doing this not for his own guidance or his own needs or his own drive. He's doing this to protect the country, and it's clear that is not true. Like maybe to some extent he thinks that's true, but I think even he is starting to realize in himself that I'm not in this for the right reasons. You know, I'm here because I want to get vengeance for my son, and I can't rationalize that this guy's anything other than evil because he killed my son, right? And I think his arc over these last two episodes is hopefully going to be back to the light. I would like to see him realize the error of his ways and realize he's become the thing he hates. But seeing him work with Lex Luthor makes me wonder if he's not going to learn the right lessons. And maybe uh, Rick Flag Sr. is going to be becoming more of a villainous role over these next few movies.
Yeah, I definitely think that he will have a sizable role in Man of Tomorrow. I think that's very clear, and we can just, I guess, just talk about that scene. He goes to prison. He goes to Belle Reve, and it's Lex Luthor. They do that really slow reveal. They're walking. He's got a cane. Who is it? And I was like, that doesn't look like Lex Luthor's body shape, but we'll see in a second. But yeah, it is Lex Luthor. They got Nicholas Holt to be in a TV show. And this to me is big because this shows that they're not afraid to have the bigger names on a TV show. Like maybe not, they're not going to have Superman, maybe they're not going to have Batman, but they're not afraid to have Lex Luthor or say the Joker. To me, it would be interesting if they continued this. And what if they only had villains and side characters show up in shows, but never the main ones? Like they had maybe Nightwing or Robin, but never Batman in a show.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to do it because Lex Luthor showing up is a big deal, but it's not Superman showing up. It's not even, I would argue, Lois Lane showing up probably. Like, but it is a big deal, and I think it's important that this not is not just a cameo. It's also clearly setting up
Yeah,
some future direction with the character. He is being pitched by, I keep wanting to call him Frank Grillo, but it's Rick Flag Sr. who is pitching Lex Luthor because he's getting desperate, and he says, "You have you heard of Peacemaker?" It's interesting. Lex Luthor has never even heard of him. He has not even heard of this guy at all. And then, but when he mentions an interdimensional portal that Peacemaker can move around, that's what really perks up Lex Luthor. So he hears that and he almost says like, "Huh." Like he takes an extreme note of the fact that there's an interdimensional portal. So I think that is what really hooks on Lex. He doesn't care about Rick Flag. He doesn't even really care about getting out of prison right now. I'm sure he could find other ways to get out if he really wanted to. To me, it's that mention of this interdimensional portal that really makes him want to get involved in this. And that is
I
probably going to be something that plays into the Superman sequel.
I think that I was wondering how does Lex Luthor get out of prison for Man of Tomorrow? How does he end up out of prison? And now we know, and also in terms of Rick Flag Sr., I think that we could see him not come into the light until Man of Tomorrow. Like he's on Lex Luthor's side helping him, but then after that movie, we get towards the end, he realizes, wait, maybe this was a mistake. Maybe I shouldn't have, and maybe he helped Superman take Lex Luthor down again. But I don't know if we're straight up going to see Man of Tomorrow Lex Luthor straight up get defeated at the end because that might feel a bit repetitive. I think Man of Tomorrow might be sort of that thing where Lex Luthor's just out there now, and he's Lex Luthor we know from the comics.
Yeah, I'm really curious how this connects. Is this the last time we see Lex this season, or is he going to come back next episode? They mentioned him by name in the preview, but they
Well,
didn't show him or anything like that.
no,
I
I
could
believe you do see him in the trailer, don't you?
they I don't know. They show somebody in a prison
Okay.
uniform, but I don't know if it's him or not because they tease a cameo in that thing, but I don't know who it is. It's some guy saying a line, but they make a note to not show who the guy is.
It
So I
has
wonder who
that
it is.
deep, like, Liev Schreiber like voice. It does sound like, the guy from Sydney something from Superman, the guy who looks like he's from a comic book. He's got those giant glasses and a giant mustache and that really deep voice. I think it's probably that guy, but someone ZK asked, "What do you think will happen in the finale?" I mean, that's a bit hard to predict right now. I mean, there's a lot of things that could happen. I mean, this story will wrap up. It'll set up Superman Man of Tomorrow. I think it's very possible that we do find out who the villain of Man of Tomorrow is in that finale. If it's Brainiac, we find out. But who knows? Because now we have a good idea of James Gunn has said this sets up Man of Tomorrow directly. Now we at least have a good idea of how it will.
Yeah, I'm curious if this story with this particular universe, this Nazi universe, gets wrapped up by the end of next week, and then our finale is kind of like an unleashed of the multiverse, something like that. Even in the trailer for this season, there's a lot of stuff we haven't seen yet. Like there was that shot of like the crazy spider monsters walking around. We haven't seen that yet. I'm imagining that would be like in the finale, right? Because they still haven't like we haven't gone through like that multiverse of doors, exploring the millions of multiverses or anything like that yet. So all of that stuff is probably going to be in the finale when James Gunn comes back. I think next week is going to be pretty plot oriented. It's going to be focusing on wrapping up the reveal of this universe and them getting away from it. And then maybe the finale will be like they got away from that universe, but it's like getting out of the frying pan into the fire. You know, they're now lost in the multiverse, and that'll be their finale.
Yeah, like when they get back to those doors, now they can't find the right one. And they end up in a universe that's much, much, much worse than this.
Well, I'm not sure
And
they're not going to be able to find the right one. I think maybe Lex Luthor and Rick Flag Sr. are able to get to that portal thing in time. And if they can destroy it, if they can turn it off, if they can just adjust the number on the pad or whatever, all of a sudden they can't come back. There's no door to go through, right? So they open that door, there's nothing there.
so
How are
you're
they going to get
saying,
back now?
so you're saying maybe they're just stuck in that room of doors.
And maybe they're just stuck. Yeah, if Frank Grillo and Lex Luthor are right on the tail of that device, and Lex says he has a radar that he can use to find that multiversal portal device. If they find it in time, they're definitely going to be able to cut it off, and they're going to show
Well,
up to that closet, and there's nowhere to go.
well, this brings up an interesting idea because if that guy in there is Brainiac, then they'd be stuck with Brainiac for Man of Tomorrow. How interesting would that be if the cast of Peacemaker are all literally stuck with Brainiac and maybe they're forced to help him in some way?
I really wonder where it ends up. Yeah, I think that's what I think. Yeah, I think that finale is going to be the multiverse unleashed, and I'm really excited to see that.
Because we thought, at least you did, that they'd be maybe going away from the multiverse right after that. Maybe they use Man of Tomorrow to wrap up. That's the end of the multiverse stuff for now.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm still leaning that all of this multiverse stuff is wrapped up by the end of the season or saved for Peacemaker season 3, but we'll see. Uh, what else do we want to talk about here? Let's talk about that scene between Chris and Harcourt where they have this confrontation, and Chris finally says, like, tell me what you feel about me. Tell me how you feel about me. And she really breaks down. She says, I'm a fucking nightmare. I don't know why you want to be with me. I'm someone who gets in fights for no reason. I'm self-destructive. And he says, well, I still love you. And it has such a effect on her. I think it really, she's never, I think, someone who's been loved before. Like she's been in relationships, she's had partners and that kind of thing, but she doesn't seem like someone who's ever once had someone genuinely actually love her and care about her. And it clearly throws her off to have that.
I really liked the scene. I was actually really impressed by Jennifer Holland's performance. I thought she's done a really good job, but this scene I thought she really sold me. And John Cena once again, just like he is very capable, and I think he's improved significantly since season one. Like he was great in season one, but I think he's. It's weird to say that John Cena is focused on and mastered the craft, but he kind of has. Like if he were to star in an Academy Award type movie, like I think he would do a good job if he got the right role. But yeah, I really like this scene, and I really like that they're facing on the fact that she is a person who is not perfect in any way, and she doesn't even know where she is. Like she admits she's getting into these fights on purpose. I thought that was a great moment of character growth, and then right after that, the episode just keeps going. But yeah, I really like
I,
that scene.
I really like too that he's just straight up. He's like, I'm in love with you. And she says, yeah, I know. I think a lesser show would draw that out for like so many seasons and they would never be upfront with it. But the reality is, like, if two people are that in love with each other, everyone's going to know it. Like, even at the beginning of this season, all of their friends are like, yeah, obviously you guys are in love with each other. Why are you acting like you're not? So I think it's very mature and like real that they would just be upfront and say, yeah, we obviously have some level of a connection, but why are we not pursuing this? And I think she's questioning that herself. She's saying, I do care for this guy, and he clearly cares for me. So what is holding me back here? It's not just Rick Flag. There's something else here within me that's holding me back from opening up to this guy and letting him see me. So I really hope that they explore that over these next two episodes because I love this scene. Like you said, Jennifer Holland's come a long way as an actress, and I think people criticize him, James Gunn, for putting his wife in the show, but I think that type of self insert works really well for a scene like this because James Gunn is writing to his wife why he loves her so much, right? He's saying, "You're someone who has seen the worst parts of myself, and you still love me, and that's amazing," right? And I think this is James Gunn essentially writing a love letter to his wife, and I really, really love seeing that. All right, I think we can talk about the reveal now. We talked a little bit about how you felt in general about it, but now we're at the actual reveal scene where everyone is starting to piece together. This universe is not what you think it is, Chris. And Chris is, aloof. He's saying, "Oh, what do you mean?" And then he pulls up the American flag, and it's actual Nazi, literally Hitler universe. So the American flag, the stars have been replaced by a swastika. We are in what seems to be a universe where the Nazis won World War II, overtook the United States, and now they're in the United States of Nazis. And I guess Peacemaker just has not at any point seen the American flag ever in this universe, which seems unrealistic to me, especially in a universe that is so patriotic. They wouldn't have the American flag like anywhere on any storefront, any walls, like anywhere. And I think that's something that's lost by the fact that we're not spending enough time in this universe. If we would have spent any more time, you would have been able to plant more of these signs naturally, right? And had it not have to come off so forced. And this really like dragged out sequence where they're showing us all these little hints. And you could have made that a lot more natural if you were spending more time in this universe. But the fact that you have to reveal it all in essentially one episode, I think just takes away a lot of the impact. But yeah, what do you think about the actual execution of this reveal and the slow build of it?
It was pretty ridiculous and not subtle. Not that it needs to be subtle, but it was like very not subtle. Like that woman is looking at her, and then she goes on the street, and then everyone's chasing. They're literally an angry mob of Nazis in like that perfect sort of like neighborhood where all the houses look the same. Everything just looks super artificial, and that guy, and literally, was that Chris's brother who says the
Yeah,
line?
Keith says that
Who says
interesting line.
he says a black. Um, I that was pretty. I mean, I guess it's not inherently bad to do it like this, but I don't know if it completely. It's a bit too. I think it's a bit too in your face.
Yeah, we've seen movies and TV shows that are commenting on racial divides so much in the last decade, and this doesn't seem like it's doing it in any interesting way. Like I am excited now that the mask is off to see that what this universe is actually like, right? I want to see what does it look like when you're a prisoner in this universe? What does it look like when this we mentioned at the beginning all this technology that seems cool that Peacemaker is able to get through. What does it look like when that turns against him? And we're finally going to be able to see that next episode. But yeah, it's very disappointing we didn't spend so much time here. And we had these last two episodes that we spent in the DCU, which to me felt like could have been one episode and maybe give me like an entire episode of Chris in this alternate universe fitting in similar to how he was in episode 3. I honestly don't know why he even returned to the original universe, to be honest. If I was writing this, like, why would you not just have Chris stay in that universe through like the whole season and then be rescued? I
Yeah,
don't really know what was
I
gained by
was
having him come back and forth.
I did really not understand why they had to do that in the first place. Like, he loves this world. Why is he even going back home? Like, maybe even do something where Eagly somehow gets here on his own. I think that would have been really fun. But yeah, I don't understand. It was just a waste of time, I feel like. To have
Yeah, it
those
feels
two
like they
episodes.
had this reveal and they had this idea of this multiverse, but they didn't really plan out what else to do, right? Especially with the other characters. It feels like getting them involved was what was a struggle this season. But yeah, we'll save our overall season thoughts for I think towards the end. We'll probably do a whole season episode review after the show is over. But anything in the specific episode you want to talk about still?
I think we've. Oh, right. I wanted to talk about the fact that they straight up Peacemaker acknowledges like, you were with Rick, you were a thing, the guy that I killed, and then she's like, well, we were a thing. He was with his girlfriend. We were a thing, I guess, but we weren't actually together. And
Hmm.
I thought that was interesting to finally just acknowledge that out loud. And I think it's interesting to see him find out in this other Earth, but then it was also the case on our Earth. So a lot of things like that will be the same on every Earth.
I'm really looking forward to hopefully having Harcourt and Rick Flags Jr. reunite. I would like to see what she would have to say to him, what he would have to say to her, right? It's something he could say to her, what will help her realize it's not her fault that he died, or it's not her fault. She can actually be loved, and it's not someone that she's going to lose. I think that conversation will be really important to Harcourt and something that will help
Because
her move forward.
because she doesn't know yet that he's alive here, right?
I don't believe she does. I don't think so, at least. But she
Yeah.
might have been able to piece together, like, if that mission didn't happen, then obviously he's probably still alive, right? But we'll see how that goes out over the next 2 episodes. I really liked in that reveal, like when she's getting chased by that literal mob. It felt like he was drawing from like his Dawn of the Dead days, right? He wrote Dawn of the Dead with Zack Snyder, his first feature, and he's going back to the zombies in the suburbs. It reminded me of that first opening sequence of Dawn of the Dead where she's fleeing her house and all the zombies are kind of colliding behind her and things are going to hell. Invasion of the Body Snatchers are all literally pointing at her and screaming, literally straight out of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. But I can't wait next week to finally see this multiverse unleashed. We've been building up and building up to this, so I'm just excited. We got through this bumpy reveal, and I hope that now that we're actually here, these next 2 episodes can really, really knock it off. But at this point, even if these next 2 episodes are literal 10 out of 10 bangers, this season is still going to feel like a bit of a waste of time, especially in the middle of it. Unless they can pull some twist and like what we are seeing in the middle of the season is actually more important than we thought it was, maybe. But even it's going to have it's still going to have to make up for the fact that we spent a couple of weeks sitting here not really doing anything, right?
Yeah, I don't think 2 great episodes is going to completely save the season.
There was a post-credit scene, a drawn-out
Yeah,
gag from
yeah,
that moment
that was
where,
yeah, that was interesting. I guess it was funny where it's more of that altercation with Harcourt and Chris's brother Keith, where she's just like, oh yeah, I'm bringing this globe thing to him, and then he's like, that belonged to his dead mother who died when he was 2, and she's like, oh yeah, we talked to her, and he's like, you talked to her? Yeah, he's like, in the afterlife. She's like, well, she haunts us.
yeah, she's a
Uh,
ghost.
I do kind of appreciate that instead of just funny bloopers, it's like actual like outtakes of lines that were going to happen but didn't happen. I think that's to me that's more entertaining than just actual bloopers. But we forgot to talk about the ending with um Economos in the house and the dad gets home
Of course,
and
we forgot about that scene. Economos spills the beans, man. What are you doing?
yeah, he tells him the truth about everything. Why would you do that, John? Why would you do that, John Economos? What is wrong with you?
Yeah,
Jesus.
Economos is clearly not someone who performs well under pressure. As soon as he's got any level of threat to himself, he's totally giving it up. Not the
Come
guy who
on.
wants to keep my secrets.
Yeah, I'm not telling him that I secretly love Zack Snyder's Justice League. I'm keeping that to myself to be like, I already love Zack Snyder's Justice League, and then he takes off his mask and it's James Gunn. He says, "What did you just say?" But but yeah, I'm interested to see what happens with theirs. Could we see John be killed?
God, I hope not. I'm assuming because most of the characters seem like they're about to collide on that house, right? Vigilante seems like he's heading there. Everybody's going back to that house. So I'm hoping that Economos is about to be rescued at the last second by Vigilante or something like that. I hope, though,
Or
I
by
hope.
Eagly? Is Eagly still in the
Oh, you're
house?
right. Eagle is in the house. That is probably more likely, to be honest.
We're gonna see. Wait, what if Eagly just kills the dad?
That's what I was thinking. Like, we were talking about how nice it is to see this character back who we thought was gone after the last season. It's fun to see that actor back in the role. Is he going to die in like literally the first minute of the next episode? Like eaten by
Yeah,
Eagly or just shot in the face by Vigilante?
because the thing is with this season is earlier this season I thought, oh, Eagly's in danger. Are they gonna kidnap him? Eagly just ninja just murders the shit out of all of them. Are we gonna see that happen again? Eagly just kills him, and then maybe Eagly has the strength to carry him, and he carries him all across town. Does Eagly have like super strength too?
It's notable we haven't seen Judo Master yet. He went through that portal
Yeah,
last week and hasn't shown up yet. So I'm thinking next episode maybe we'll pick up a Judo Master. Maybe we'll get his perspective of these events and
he
his uh, reaction to this reality.
if he's a martial artist, I would guess he's sneaking in the shadows and has figured out what's going on and is being really careful.
Do you think any of these characters from this Earth 2 will be redeemed? Do you think Keith can be turned? Do you think that sees someone who can be saved, is someone that they can, show information to and have him realize he was wrong or something like that? Is there someone who can be redeemed? Is that where James Gunn is going? Like, is he trying to tell us that somebody who's as far gone as Keith still has a shot to be able to be brought back to the light? Or
I
is
would
he going
really
to do a James Gunn thing of everyone just murders the bad guys and then we move on?
I would really like to see them do that with Keith, like bring him back. That would be really interesting because then he would because then he would have his brother back and they would be doing it in an interesting way, not just like, oh, we took him out of the multiverse and that's it. But
I'm hoping that we got Rick Flag Jr. I'd love to see him come back to the main DCU.
that would be really cool. I think that's probably the most likely.
I'm really excited. Next week is the second to last episode. James Gunn is not directing the next episode, but he, of course, is still writing it. So we'll see how it goes. I'm hoping that it's a step up from this episode. We've got 2 left, though. We'll see how it goes. How are you feeling? Are you excited for next week still?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to just to see what happens, what directions they go, who they bring back. I'm really hoping they don't just not have Rick Flag Jr. show up again. But there's no way that would happen because you still have Rick Flag Sr. out there. You got to have him find him.
Yeah, I'm really curious. We have a lot of characters who could show up. James Gunn has mentioned like all these characters from Superman that maybe would be popping up. He's hinted about Blue Beetle and other characters like Otis and stuff like that. I'm sure we'll have
Yeah,
to pop up here where
because
still haven't shown up yet.
yeah, because remember he didn't say a couple people from Superman would show up. He said a lot would show up.
Yeah, he did say that, and people who like the actor who played Otis and those kind of things, like they've talked about, I believe, showing up. So I don't know.
I'd like to see them do some more with Otis because with the original Superman, I just remember Otis being that goofy, bumbling guy. I'd like to see them actually, show what he's up to. How does he help Lex Luthor exactly?
Yeah, now that Lex Luthor is involved in the plot, maybe now we'll start getting a lot more of those Superman connective scenes because he's going to be like using his resources to help out Argus. Are we going to see Argus and Luthor Corp start to kind of merge? Maybe by the time we get to Man of Tomorrow, Lex is in charge of Argus. He's essentially, the CEO or whatever of Argus, because it seems like Argus doesn't really have a leader, like at least not someone who's very present. Like I guess Frank Grillo is the leader, but he answers to somebody, doesn't he? Like, and he doesn't even seem like he likes being in charge. Like I could easily see him just handing it off to Lex, or just being one of Lex's puppets.
If Lex Luthor is in charge of Argus, could we see that lead to him becoming the president in Superman 3?
Yeah, I think that could be where they go. He's in charge of the government. He's in charge of this huge corporation. You could obviously see real world parallels to that. And James Gunn will be, he's not afraid to lean into real world parallels. And so I think he would like to do that.
But yeah, I think that's good for this episode. Thanks everyone for joining us. We have a new episode of our new show coming up next week. We will be doing a One Battle for Another spoiler review, and then we'll be back for Peacemaker next week.
Yeah, I can't believe it. If you liked it, let us know in the comments what you thought. We'd love to see your predictions for next week. And like I already said, we've got a lot going on the channel. We already have our One Battle After Another spoiler-free review going up sooner than later. So if you're watching this, it may already be up there on the channel. So check that one out. Like we say every week. What do we say every week? I'll see you guys.
Eat peace.
Eat peace, assholes. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.